Welcome back to Enterprise Search with Apache Solr. This is Section 5, Understanding the Document Schema. In this section, we will discuss available field types native to Solr, configuring textual field types using analyzers and filters, the correct format for and best practices relating to the document schema, and how to alter the document schema file.
Before we can get to work customizing our Solr install for our data, it's important to understand more about the schema file. You can access your schema file by either going into example Solr conf and looking at schema.xml, or you can look at it by accessing the schema section in your admin. I would suggest doing the admin schema section if you're only going to be reviewing values, because it tends to be a little bit more readable. So now we're in the schema file, and you'll notice that the first node is called types. This lists all of the types that have been defined based on specific classes in the Solr library that define data types from which we will be indexing values. So for instance, the string data type will take the full string of whatever you put into your document and store it as a single unique term. So if John went to the store was stored in two different locations, you would only be able to find it by searching for John went to the store on a string field. Boolean, again, this is just true or false, but the gotcha here is that you're passing the string value true or false. So please keep that in mind when sort of tailoring Boolean fields to your application. Going down a little bit further, here are our numeric values. So we have integer, float, long, and double, and sort of the usual values you might expect to go in there. So if it's got a decimal point, you're going to want float or double. If it's a very long integer, you'll probably want long. Another thing to keep in mind here is that we are storing these as trees. That's the special data format tree and not the binary tree. So one of the points of granularity we have for this field is precision steps. So by setting a different precision step, we are making a larger index but faster range queries. So for fields that you would want to perform range queries on, you may want to consider using the T variation of these numeric types. We also have dates, and the same thing for the date field. So we're looking here, we have some precision step information added, and if we want to do date range queries or date faceting, we may want to consider those. So moving further along, we also have plain numeric fields instead of using tree-based fields. They don't have the same robustness, but there are some values to it. Similarly, we have a special field type that's targeted just towards being sortable, which is nice if you're going to be sorting by values rather than by relevance. We have a random sort field type that allows us to perform random sorting on different documents. And finally, we're getting down to our text fields. Our text fields actually are going to be the most interesting because they're the most configurable, and let's face it, a lot of this other stuff we could probably just get out of a database. So text fields are defined by implementing the Solr text field class and utilizing one or more of an analyzer that contains tokenizers and filters that transform text into normalized terms. We'll talk more about the behavior of all of these analyzers when we get to the analyzer and filter video. So basically, each field type here is declared to have different term normalization based on the language and the different needs. So whether or not you need to do a strong match on hyphens and things like that. There are also field types for things such as phonetic pronunciation and lowercase, points in a matrix, and geospatial for location. Finally, in these versions of Solr that we're looking at, there are fields specifically tailored towards currency, which is nice if you're doing anything financial. And finally, there's a great deal of internationalization opportunity here, just native to the default example schema. So we have plenty to go over once we look at analyzers and filters. So now we understand the kinds of declarations that are determining what's available to us when we're actually planning out our schema. From here, we can declare all kinds of different fields that we want to use for our own version of our search index.